For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Fulta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
The homestand rolls on for the Utah Mammoth. It's game 2 of a 7-game home stretch. They'll take on the St. Louis Blues tonight. We mentioned Ryan Smith and Chris Armstrong. We spoke to them at the press conference at Rice-Eccles Stadium announcing that the Winter Classic was coming to Utah next January. But first, let's talk about tonight's game and get everybody ready as we're all on our way over to the Delta Center. I'm Mike Fulta. He's Adrian Denny. We're your radio crew on Hockey Night in Utah. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you're subscribed to the team page. And don't be afraid to leave us a comment. We love to get to those comments, and we frequently bring them up on the radio side of Hockey Night in Utah as well. But AD, Utah now with back-to-back wins, something they haven't done a whole lot of since they won 7 in a row at the start of the season. But you have a chance to win 3 games in a row for the first time since that 7-game heater. And this homestand is could be a huge springboard for the Mammoth to leap up in the standings. And they'll have an opportunity tonight against a Central Division opponent that's been limping its way through the season.
Blues coming off a 7-3 loss in Chicago on Wednesday night, Mike. And it was kind of a game where things just didn't go their way. We'll get to more on that coming up. And Utah is at the point in the schedule where they're ready to start taking advantage of things. And for the Mammoth, it's all about them. And they're playing the Blues. And you see on the graphic, worst goals per game in the NHL, 4th most goals allowed in the NHL. They've won 5 out of 10. They've got 17 wins, 19 losses, 8 losses past regulation, 7th place in the Central Division. A lot like Ottawa, Mike. They've just kind of floated along. They had a 4-game winless skid in November. They had a 6-game winless skid in October. But outside of that, whole year, haven't won more than 2 in a row. Haven't really lost more than 2 in a row either. And it's a tough game they're coming off of against Chicago on Wednesday. But I always go back to St. Louis and that Sunday game they came in last year. The body language at the Oval wasn't great. They were struggling, and they emerged with a victory against Utah. And we went into the Four Nations face-off break. Then they came in and turned it around. It just seems like Jim Montgomery, you look at him, the kind of player he was. He's a little guy. He's always had to fight and scratch and claw, and he's always kind of had that chip on his shoulder, and his teams kind of feel the same way. So St. Louis is what they is what they are. English.
Add that to the Mammoth Daily Dictionary. What they is.
Oh my goodness. So, for me and the Mammoth, it's just come out and play the game. And they've shown that they don't need the stars to be the stars every night. As I think going into Christmas, it was kind of the case. Up until Wednesday night, Utah was 0-11 when they didn't get a goal from Schmaltz, Gunther, and Peterka. And Wednesday night was the first night they didn't get a goal from those 3 and won a game. And you've seen a goal from the third line in 3 straight games. Boot gets a big goal against Ottawa. Michael Carcone had scored in 2 straight games. We saw the Mammoth score on the fly in the middle of a change with Tanev hopping on for Carcone after he did all the heavy lifting. So it was something early in the year when we didn't win. We're like, our stars didn't score and their stars did score. But Utah, I think, a really good sign on Wednesday night, winning a game where they didn't have 3 guys going that had been involved every time they'd won a game so far this season. Captain Clayton Keller did have a couple of assists. He led the way with 2 goals in the first 7+ minutes of the game. But going into today's game, Mike, the Mammoth were 19-9-3 when they got a goal from Schmaltz, Gunther, Peterka, and 0-11 when they didn't. So kind of in this stretch where they're looking to take advantage of games, of teams who are coming in on road trips. Columbus is coming in on a back-to-back Sunday off a back-to-back in Colorado. So it's a matter of, okay, now the schedule's on our side. Let's go do it. I've always hated it, Mike. It's been something that's really gotten to me during the course of my career. When my team's on a road trip, when we're fighting it, playing on a back-to-back, fourth game in 5 nights, and a team comes in and takes it to us. And then we're at home in the middle of a homestand, and a team like St. Louis limps in and takes us to overtime, beats us. Like, teams never let us off the hook. Don't let other teams off the hook when they come in, because they'll never let you off the hook. So I think that's the message from us for the Mammoth here this weekend.
Oh, that's such a shame, because we were on the same page. We were in lockstep last show, Adrian. We were swimming in the same lane. I don't like those records when somebody scores. like every guy has a positive record. Like when this guy scores, Utah is blank, blank, and blank. Like every guy, it's positive. It's because scoring goals helps you win. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. The 0-11 stat is interesting, I think, when those big guys don't score. You compare them to Ottawa. I have been way more impressed with Ottawa than I have been with St. Louis this year. I mean, Ottawa has a winning record. They're in the same standing spot in their respective conference, but they've got a better record. I think they have a better team from top to bottom. We've seen St. Louis twice already this year, AD, and 2 games could not have been more different. We saw St. Louis earlier in October, and the Mammoth basically waltzed to a 7-4 win. It really wasn't even that close. Like, the Blues kind of had a little push in the second period. Actually, they did make it a 1-goal game, I think. Was it 5-4 at one point in the second?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And so it was a 1-goal game at one point, but the Mammoth were in control. They scored 4 goals before you could bat an eye. Ian Cole led it off, and then Logan Cooley had a natural hat trick in the first period, a historical night for Cooley. And for Utah, it's his first of 2 hat tricks this year. So Cooley got the hat trick against St. Louis. The Blues basically chased Joel Hofer out of the game. And then we go back later to St. Louis, a couple days after Thanksgiving. We had just gotten the news that Clayton Keller's father had passed away. He is playing back in his hometown, and you could feel the emotion in Utah's previous game when they played against Dallas and played really well and had a chance to win that game, outplayed the Stars. That was right after Keller had heard about his father passing, and then that game in St. Louis, you could just kind of feel the emotion catch up to that team. I feel like, and the Blues only needed 1 goal in front of Joel Hofer, and then they packed it in. And we've seen that throughout this year, Adrian, where when teams pack it in and just kind of sit in the middle and let Utah do their thing on the outside, but not let the team get to the interior, the Mammoth really struggle kind of coming up with a plan B. And it was a 1-0 shutout win for the Blues in that second meeting. We talking about Clayton Keller. We saw him get to the interior to make that pass over to Lawson Krause in Utah's last game and that win against Ottawa. Those are the types of plays that the Mammoth were not making in the last meeting between Utah and St. Louis. And AD, I just have this sense like the game that we see tonight, it's not going to be like the first meeting where you score 4 goals in the first period, really in the first 10 minutes of the game. And it's not going to be like the last meeting where it's 1-0, it's a slog, Utah with only 18 shots on goal. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. So even though this Blues team, they can't score, and they've struggled defending, it's a divisional game, and you still have to bring, you still have to play to your identity. And I think this is one of those good identity games where if the Mammoth play the way they need to play, they'll have a really good chance to win the game. This is still a veteran St. Louis team. They've held off a rebuild for a long time. They have guys like Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas who are in their primes. They're 26, 27, along with older guys. Braden Shen. You think of Colton Parayko, who's I think 30 now. It's hard to believe. Justin Falk leads the team in goals as a defenseman, and he's he's having kind of a renaissance season. This is a veteran team that has been to the playoffs a bunch last year. They went on that magical 12-game win streak a year ago, and you can't take any game for granted in the NHL. You especially can't take divisional games for granted, and especially against teams that have as much as many veterans as this St. Louis group.
And they're coming in after a game where they lost 7-4 in Chicago. How about the Hawks, Mike? They've won 4 in a row.
Yep.
All of a sudden. There's been a lot of up and down. The Anaheim Ducks are struggling right now. They have 1 win in their last 10 games. It's been an unpredictable start to the season. But speaking of unpredictable, Mike, I know you've done some coaching. Have you ever tried to pull a goalie and you couldn't find your backup goalie? That ever happened to you?
I have never run a bench. I have never coached a hockey game, nor should I ever. But Jim Montgomery ran into a nightmare scenario where, in reference to what you're talking about, and I didn't know this until we recorded Thursday morning. But Wednesday night, he tried to pull Jordan Binnington when the Hawks were pouring him in, and Joel Hofer was AWOL. I mean, what? I've never seen this before.
Let's turn it over to the NHL on TNT crew. This is Brendan Burke.
Well, Louis Crevier scored the 7th goal against Jordan Binnington, and Jim Montgomery said, hey, we're going to make a goalie change here. But they couldn't find Joel Hofer. Binnington didn't come out of the net. And then during that last commercial break, we were trying to locate Joel Hofer, and I think we found him. Look very close. Oh, there he is. Do you still need me?
If you're listening on podcast, Hofer is nowhere to be found on the bench. He's not like in that hallway in Chicago, which is that where the backup goalie sits in Chicago? I guess in the hallway. There's not enough room on the bench. And the camera zooms in and Hofer is just like lurking around the corner. You see like half of his face kind of checking like, do you need me? Are you sure? It's much comfier back here.
That's not good. You hear instances of that happening, Mike. In some buildings, the backup goalie, there's not room on the bench and there's not bench access to the locker room. So he's in a corner off where the teams enter on a stool with the assistant trainers. And, everybody has the comm system, the radios, and there's instances where the system fails and a coach is trying to pull the goalie and things have fallen apart and they're down 3-0 5 minutes into the game and they can't get the guy's attention in the corner and they've got to drop the puck and call a timeout later on to pull the goalie because they can't get the guy's attention. Not being able to find the guy is something that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny visual. But I tell you what, AD, like the streaking Hawks, it just goes to show like every team goes through the ups and the downs, right? And over the course of an 82-game season, most teams are going to win 3, 4, 5 in a row at some point in the year, and pretty much everybody's going to lose 3, 4, 5 in a row at some point in the year. So everybody's going through it. One thing that you notice looking at the Blues game log, AD, is that they get blown out a lot. Each of their last 2 losses have been by 4 or more goals. And I think that affects those goals and goals against per game numbers. Like we mentioned it, they score the fewest goals in the NHL per game, 2.5 per game, 4th worst defensively in goals against per game, 3.4. But with all that being said, those big losses that they suffer kind of skew those numbers. So it's a team that maybe checks out of games when it's not going their way or when they sense it's going against them. They also have had bad goaltending this year. And I know Jordan Binnington's going to be representing Team Canada, but boy, you look at his numbers and Joel Hofer's numbers on some nights, and it's rough. And the Mammoth were able to take advantage of a situation against Ottawa where it was Levi Merilainen in net, and he had not been having a great year either. Mammoth scored 3 against him, but they got 2 early. And I think if you can get 2 early or 1 or 2 goals early on this St. Louis team, it's a group that's shown when things go downhill, they really go downhill.
Bennington on Wednesday night allowed 7 goals, had a save percentage of .800, and took a delay of game penalty. But you have to imagine, Mike, you lose a game 7-3. That's not a fun locker room. That's not a fun post game to be involved in. And then you're the backup goalie, and then you're the starting goalie who gave up 7. Like if you're Jim Montgomery, what do you do? Obviously, it's an internal thing, and we don't have all the complete context there. But
that's pretty impressive that he had an .800 save percentage by letting in 7 goals. How many shots did he see?
That would be 35 shots. Stop 28 of 35.
Okay,
I did that in my head.
You did.
I
probably could have done that in hindsight. 4 years.
All the definitions and all the language and all the words that I screw up, I can do math on my head on the air just like that, Mike, and be right about 42% of the time.
They is what they is. Hey, you're back to even. You're back to even after a -1. You just had a nice seam pass up the middle to spring your winger, and boom, you're back to even in the plus-minus category. So just kind of my last thoughts on the Blues, AD. This is a team that you might look at or you would think that you would look at in terms of trading away pieces at the trade deadline if they continue to stay where they are in the standings. They don't have a second-round pick each of the next 2 years, and I mentioned it earlier, but they've held off a rebuild for a long time. They kind of retooled quickly after they lost guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Jaden Schwartz was there forever. Vladimir Tarasenko, those guys were huge parts of the Cup team from 2019, and they had bad luck with Torrey Krug as well, who they signed him and it never worked out there and had to essentially retire due to injuries. But they don't have a ton of pending free agents. AD, you look at their contract situation. A lot of their core forwards are locked up for at least the next 2 years. Kyrou, Thomas, Buchnevich, and Shen, all there the next 2 years. And Kyrou, Thomas, and Buchnevich all have more than 2 years left on their deal. And guys like Kyrou and Thomas, they're right in their prime. This team thought it was going to be competing in the Central Division, but you look at the top of the division, teams like the Mammoth that are already coming into that second crust of the division, and the Blackhawks are on their way, it looks like. And it's interesting times in St. Louis where the plan hasn't exactly unfolded the way they hoped it was going to. And so, I think the question is now, are you sellers or do you stay the course and hope it figures itself out like it did last year when you won 12 in a row? Or do you hope that it just turns around next year?
It usually doesn't. The second year. You can look at it historically speaking, teams that go on runs, that get hot, and then the next year out of the gates they struggle again. They're typically not able to pull that off. And you look at the Central Division, Mike, talk about unpredictability. How about Winnipeg at the bottom of the division? And you look at, teams like Colorado knew they were going to be good. Minnesota, they get Quinn Hughes. Dallas had just went winless in 6 straight games, but the Stars still had a record going into the game against Washington on Wednesday night of 25-10 and 8, and they were winless in 6 straight games.
Yeah.
So Central's stacked at the top, and we've got teams that aren't quite where they expected in St. Louis and Winnipeg, and Nashville, who's playing pretty good. It's why they went out and got Steven Stamkos to score 7-game winning goals since December 1st, as he has, and they're hot too. As they're done with that gauntlet of a road trip, that 6-gamer. I think they took 4 of 6, so they're back home.
Yeah, but it's a weird spot for St. Louis because there's enough there that makes you think like, no, we're not going to tear this all down, right? Like you like a lot of those core pieces, but Kyrou's had a really tough year. They are without Dylan Holloway. He's been injured. He's been a big piece for them, and when he's been in the lineup, he's a huge difference maker. But AD, without speaking too harshly about the Blues, like where do they go from here? Like, do you have to solve this internally, or do you think they try to reshape things, which is again something they've been putting off for the last couple years?
It's interesting, Mike, because Doug Armstrong, their GM, is about ready to step aside.
Yep.
They've got the general manager in waiting there. Oh gosh, who is it?
Alexander Steen.
Yes, Alexander Steen, the former player who they've groomed for the last couple of years to take over. So he's going to take over. Doug Armstrong's on his way out the door, right? That's probably another internal thing that we haven't been kept up to date on, is how does that transition work, and who's making the decisions for the big picture.
Yeah. And you look at the team and you just, and there's a lot of teams that are like this, but you think, okay, even if we do make the playoffs, like, is there a chance for this core to get past Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, or even then beyond that, Vegas, Edmonton? And they did take Winnipeg to 7 games last year. They took the President's Trophy winning Jets to 7 games. But again, that was a magical end of the season for St. Louis, winning 12 in a row. And the odds of winning 12 in a row, again, not great. But to play devil's advocate, you've got Jordan Binnington, who's a gamer. We know that he can get hot, and we've seen this Blues team turn the ship around before. They went from last place to Stanley Cup winners back in 2019. And maybe that's a bad thing for the future, because that makes you think that you can do that every year. But it's an interesting spot here for the Blues. We'll see what they do heading up to the March 6th trade deadline. But they have beaten Utah in the last meeting. So, we said earlier, I don't think anybody's taken St. Louis for granted here with the talent they have on their roster. But, AD, we don't want to keep Ryan Smith waiting, because we might not have jobs after. He is our ultimate boss. But should we get to owner and governor Ryan Smith?
Yeah, let's welcome Ryan to the Friday free-for-all on Mammoth Daily, coming up next.
Get ready. Your Friday free-for-all is here.
We're here with owner and governor Ryan Smith. And Ryan, huge day for the state of Utah and for the Utah Mammoth. But can you kind of expand on what bringing the Winter Classic means, not just for the NHL and for Utah, but to State 45?
Yeah, it seems like the next step, right? And if you would have told us it would have happened 3 years ago, I mean, we were just trying to digest a team, and I feel like our internal group has done a fantastic job at launching the brand and getting that out, and launching Tusky, and getting a little balance of like, what do we have in this new world, adding some players, adding more seats. It's like right when we're about to breathe, we're going to go make Winter Wonderland is a thing here. And so I'm excited. We've got a group of people who love doing big things. Actually, if we don't do big things, they become like extremely frustrated with low morale. And so they want to do moonshots. And this is definitely a moonshot.
In terms of just everything, bringing the team here, first game, first season, and now it's a chance, really a major opportunity to share Utah with the rest of the hockey world, the rest of Utah with this this showcase.
Yeah, it's pretty well teed up. I mean, we don't have to do a lot to dress it up. We just have to describe it and really just kind of show the experience to people. I think when they get here and they land, they understand how close everything is, how easy it is. That's really refreshing, because in a lot of cities, especially downtown and big cities, the infrastructure just isn't there to handle the growth and these types of events. And, Gary and I were driving up here today, and, we went from our practice facility where he took a look at it, and we cruised up here, and he's just like, it's just easy. And I was like, yeah, I get 2 hours more of my day than when I'm somewhere else, here in Utah. And so to have kind of the vibrancy, the fan base, the ability to switch gears and be in the mountains real quick, and there's just nothing like it anywhere.
You guys hosted the NBA All-Star Game back in 2023. Is there any experience or learning from hosting that event that you guys can carry over into this?
Yeah, it's definitely the it's a similar muscle. I remember sitting in our conference room with big shower whiteboards describing every venue that we were going to activate and the run of show and the experience someone would have from the airport, and calling our city and saying, hey, there's no way we have enough Ubers, and getting 2,000 or 1,000 black SUVs coming up from the Super Bowl afterwards, and we needed them, to wrapping the buses and creating a special bus route coming up here for All-Star because we had games here on campus, and really orchestrating the entire run of show. And I think we did a really, really good job with that, where, people came into Utah and had an experience where they hadn't really had before. And so I think, and it's all here, it just wasn't curated. And so I think that our ability to curate that weekend will be a preview to, it's going to be a preview to the 34 Olympics is in a way, a much smaller scale, but we're introducing a bunch of people who, haven't been here before to this. And so that's pretty cool.
In terms of our organization, not having Logan Cooley on the ice for the last month has been a major void, but it just seemed perfect to have him here today. One of our cornerstone players, the 8-year contract extension he got just over a month ago. It just felt perfect to have him here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, we miss our center. It adds a little bit more depth, and the guys are doing their best to step up and, kind of fill in for him. But he is a young part of the core. He's going to be here. And I think everyone feels like it's a perfect role. And I think it's great for these guys to get out and do this more. The community wants to know him. They want to hear from him. And, maybe sometimes they think they're talking a lot, but it's not enough, right? It's never enough. They're educating an entire fan base. And I think the more people know, the more they fall in love with these guys, because it's a special group.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate the time, and we can't wait to introduce the NHL to Utah even more.
Yeah, let's do January. All right. Thanks, guys.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Thank you to Ryan Smith for taking the time. He had been hopping from interview to media scrum to interview, and then back to us. We didn't even think we were going to get Ryan Smith for an interview that day. We had punted. We were packing up the camera, AD and Brandon and Abigail, who were running the show for us, doing the photography, the videography. They had to scramble and put things back up when Cassie, who helps us with PR, brought Ryan Smith over. It's fine, we got him. And so we're oh, great, make it happen. And it was kind of a fun little scramble there to get everything in order. And I went to shake Ryan's hand. I don't know if you saw this, but I went to shake Ryan's hand and he's very polite and nice and shook my hand. But as second I did that, he pulled out his phone and had some important phone call. And I felt terrible because I'm trying to reintroduce myself to him as he's picking up, I don't know, some governor or something like that. But it was kind of an awkward moment, but he was fantastic. And thanks to him for joining us. We do have Chris Armstrong as well. And AD, that was a great talk with Utah's president of hockey operations.
Yeah, always fun to talk with Chris and Mike. It was almost our very own goaltending situation in St. Louis on Wednesday night, trying to find Brandon. He was down the hallway with Abigail, but they'd gone back down towards the hallway, and we're all at different angles. And I'm like, where's Brandon? Where's Brandon? And there he was. And then Abigail came sprinting back in. But it's Mammoth Daily, Mike. We had our comm systems, we were ready to go in just a matter of seconds. How about that battery switch out? Brandon changed out the batteries right as Ryan Smith came up to talk to us. Abigail had one on the spot. Yeah, and switched it out. That's execution.
It was like watching a Formula One pit stop. That's what it felt like, where you get the jack underneath, boom, couple cranks, 4 fresh tires, gas, little windshield clean off, and you're ready to go. So great job to Brandon and Abigail. But let's get to Chris Armstrong, who gave us some more insight about the Winter Classic coming to Utah. And we're going to be talking a lot with Chris and with other leadership members about the Winter Classic. But each time we did one of these interviews, Adrian, I think everybody knows we like to talk. We would get the wrap it up signal from Craig Amazine, our boss, or maybe it was Jeffrey Sanders who runs public relations and communications for the Mammoth. But did you see the wrap it up signal? Because I was catching it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh, we've got so many more questions for these guys.
It was coming from several different angles, right? Craig was in one corner, Jeffrey was in another corner, Cassie was pacing back and forth, and again, thanks for all their hospitality and everybody for taking all the time yesterday to help us out here on Mammoth Daily.
Yeah, well, here's Chris. It's the president of hockey operations for the Utah Mammoth. We're here with president of hockey operations, Chris Armstrong. Chris, an exciting day. I mean, a year from now, we're going to have the sun setting over there, snow on those mountains, hopefully. But we asked Commissioner Gary Bettman this and wanted to ask you, but what did it take to get here today?
Boy, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, it is an incredible day for Utah, for our fans, for the Utah Mammoth organization, and a great setting, a great showcase of mountain hockey and Utah. The league was very, very gracious in this process. I think they were surprised how quickly we showed up asking for something like this upon receiving the opportunity to have a franchise in the National Hockey League. But we knew a moment like this was really important and really critical to continuing to build momentum and excitement in our market for NHL hockey and behind our young organization. And there isn't a better property in the game than the Winter Classic, which really celebrates the heritage and the history and the roots of the game, frankly. And for us to give our fans an opportunity to connect with that so early, we're very grateful to the National Hockey League for that opportunity.
You know, Chris, you start in October, play in November, December, but coming into the new year, the Winter Classic seems like the signature event in the NHL that, okay, now hockey season has begun.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a great inflection point in the season. I think it generates a lot of interest and particularly not just hockey fans, but casual fans of the game as well. They see the spectacle that it is and how unique it is and how hard an event it is to pull off. The scale at which the event is conducted is impressive too. And a lot of credit to the NHL team. This is going to be their 18th iteration of this, and it's a year-long process to engineers and everybody to figure out how to build high quality NHL ice inside of a football stadium or a baseball stadium, and depending on the different market or climate conditions at the time, it's really an amazing. I think it's going to be interesting and exciting for our fans to learn some of that education behind pulling off a game like this, to be able to showcase the game for 50,000 fans.
I want to ask you about the process moving forward in a little bit, but first, we heard that there weren't a ton of obstacles in getting the game here from Commissioner Bettman, but was there one big box to check that you guys, or a hoop that you had to jump through to be able to bring the game here?
I think, operationally, they needed to make sure we had the right venue in this market to host a game of this scale and to make it a great fan experience and a great experience for the players, most importantly as well, to play. This is a regular season game. Those points matter. So, it has to be to the standard that NHL players expect. And I think, I don't say there's really a hurdle necessarily, but I definitely think that the momentum and the response that our fans and our community has shown in support of our team really has caught the attention of the entire hockey world and certainly the NHL. And I think for them, gives them great confidence that giving us this responsibility of hosting a game like this, that we'll do a great job. And we certainly take that responsibility seriously, and we will try to make this the best Winter Classic of all time.
Chris, you talk about points mattering, Central Division as much as any in the NHL, Colorado Avalanche, and rivalries. You say, Colorado could be one, Vegas, right?
Yeah.
But the Avs, the games we've played against Colorado, that's a rivalry that's coming here to the Winter Classic.
Absolutely. And we've got the obvious geographic rivals, like you mentioned, Vegas and Colorado. And the matchup was important to us. I think the storytelling, an event like this is very important, right? To get fans, not just in our market, but outside of our market, invested in this game and tuning in as must-see TV. And so the matchup was really important to us. And we know we have a burgeoning rivalry with the Avalanche, and we have played them very well. And they're a great measure for every team in the league. It's an outstanding organization, a very talented group. we know that with our team, and as we continue to evolve and get better, that's going to be a heck of a hockey game, and I think a great showcase of the NHL.
Well, there's a million more questions to ask, and I know we'll get to a lot of it in the year to come, but I'm getting the wrap-up signal, so we'll let you go. We got plenty of games between now and then, but thanks for the time.
Thank you, guys. Great to be with you.
It would not be a Friday free-for-all episode without our local hockey roundup, and we have the Utah High School Hockey Tournament that started this past week, started on Monday. Games have already begun. Adrian and I are planning, I'm putting this out there to keep us accountable, we're planning to attend one of these games coming up next week, AD. We're hoping to go Monday. I believe that's a second-round game at SLC Sports Complex. But AD, what do you have for us in terms of scores, and what does the tournament look like so far?
First round's underway, Mike. Number 1 seeded Park City Red beat Farmington 14-1. Number 4 seeded Harriman Varsity fell to the number 5 seed Skyline. Looks like an upset, but Skyline's record has been really, really good. So they've only lost 2 games all year and got the 5 seed. So watch out for Skyline. They're playing the number 1 seeded Park City on Monday in the second round. Number 2 seeded East beat Bingham 6-1. And Brighton, the hottest team in the state going into the tournament, beat Mountain Ridge 9-3. So coming up Monday night at the SLC Sports Complex at 7 o'clock up at Steiner, Park City Red, the 1st seed, takes on the 5th seeded Skyline varsity team. Number 2 seeded East, the only team to beat number 1 seeded Park City, takes on the hottest team, the Brighton Bengals, number 3. And in the losers bracket, Harriman and Farmington, Mountain Ridge and Bingham will play on Wednesday.
Is that our game that we're headed to on Monday at Steiner, the Park City game?
It looks like it'll be East Brighton at 8:45 because we've got our season ticket member event at the museum Monday evening that we're excited
we're going to be at the Natural History Museum. That's the title.
I believe so. Yeah.
I've been to the Natural History Museum once, and it was with Dom, Julia, and Camille Moore. So Dom and his 2 daughters, and that was the day that the Utah Mammoth name and logo were announced, and we went right to the Natural History Museum and got to see the mammoths, and they had these little like hidden toy mammoths throughout some of the exhibits. It was very cool. I love history. I love museums and things like that. We went through the museum in about 35 minutes. I would have liked a little bit more time to read some of the science. Julia and Camille, not so much. They flew through. We got snacks at the end, and it was a great time. But I do need to take the time to actually digest some of the exhibits when we head there on Monday.
Well, we'll have plenty of time. I think you should give some tours, Mike. Like, you're a smart guy. Like, lead us.
I think I would be a great tour guide.
Yeah.
Like, if I could find something and learn enough about something to give meaningful tours, I would love that. You'd be great too, Adrian. You give me tours of Brighton all the time, and we're going today, Thursday, as we record this. So hopefully I'm around Monday, and I'm not bandaged in a hospital after Adrian took me down moguls again. But here's to a safe ski trip.
My friend Doug Plagans and I, Doug is the radio play-by-play announcer for the Florida Panthers. We have long talked about jobs to do in retirement. And I think we both agreed that we would be perfect, like shuttle drivers, pick people up, drive them, drop them off at their spot, go back to the hotel, pick up some more people, drop them off at a restaurant. Shuttle driving.
How about like a bus tour? Because I want to get you on a microphone, like do a bus tour of Salt Lake City or of some other spot. You can drive, you pick people up, and you can deliver the tour and tell ghost stories.
Yeah, I'd love it. Put the broadcasting to use.
Exactly. Well, we have more local hockey to get to as well. AD, there's some college puck that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, we've got the Utah women back in action. They host DU tonight and tomorrow. A huge D2 weekend in the state for the men. You've got Utah State at Weber State. Weber State's been the hottest D2 team in the state. They play tonight. And then Utah and Weber State will play tomorrow night, the D2 team. The D1 Utah team, nationally ranked off until January 23rd. So getting back underway in college hockey this weekend. American Hockey League, Tucson Roadrunners, Mike, getting hot. Kind of at the same time that the Mammoth are coming off of a weekend sweep in Calgary. They're 4-0-1 coming out of Christmas, led by their defensemen. Talked about that briefly on yesterday's show. Maverick Lamoureux, for those of you on YouTube, the big 6'7" defenseman firing one in from the blue line to give Tucson a 3-0 lead on Sunday. And Dmitry Simashev, mentioned about a point a game, got a big goal against San Diego on New Year's Eve. They're led by those D, and they're playing good. So Roadrunners are 4-0-1 in their last 5. Mammoth winning 3 of the last 4. It's always interesting how organizations can sometimes kind of get going at the right time. So there we go, Mike. There's our local hockey roundup. Grizzlies this weekend at Tahoe, on the shores of the Nevada side of the lake, State Line, Nevada.
Is that where they play?
Yeah,
They play in Nevada. Oh.
yeah, they play. They play right off of the freeway there. Brand new rink in Lake Tahoe.
I guess I did not know that. I've never been to Lake Tahoe. I would have. I just assumed they were on the California side, but
they're in Nevada.
Well said. Well, this has been a great week, a huge week for the Utah Mammoth, obviously with the Winter Classic announcement. We'll continue to get more details about that throughout the year, throughout the off season, and throughout next year as well. But it's a huge event that we should all be looking forward to here in Salt Lake City. And along with that, the Mammoth are on a home streak right now, and we'll see if they can make it 3 wins in a row tonight against the St. Louis Blues. As always, you guys are welcome to come up and say hi to us. We have a number of people that do. Was getting some pictures of new guitars shown to me by Josh, one of our friends, the same Josh that made me my puck stand up here. He must be a 3D printing wizard, because I'm guessing some of these guitars were 3D printed. But we've had a little musical flair of Mammoth Daily listeners the last week or so. Hockey Club Clayton came up and said hi. He was also on the big screen on Wednesday night. Clayton will put out these videos of rocking along to some Mammoth themed song. Our friend Eric works at Keys on Main. He's a musician at Keys on Main. He has come up with this incredible, and I should give it to you, Adrian, so we can put it in the show sometime. It's a Mammoth logo. Imagine a guitar, but like the base of the guitar is the Mammoth logo. It's this right here with like the guitar stem protruding. And it is unbelievable. Like, he has videos of him like rocking out at Keys on Main using that thing, and trying to plug him in with somebody in marketing or game ops to see if they can use them somehow. But it's a functioning guitar that he designed. So we got him and Josh designing guitars. We have Hockey Club Clayton, who is playing guitars, and definitely open to anybody else who's musically talented. Maybe we could get a little Mammoth band together. We need a Mammoth theme song. Other teams come up with these like funny, sometimes corny theme songs. Let's get one going for the Tusks.
And don't forget Dave Martin on Twitter with his victory anthems that he creates with the AI music.
Yes.
But punches in. Said he made sure to give Brandon Tanev a shout out for the win on Wednesday night. He's got that published on Spotify. So check out at Super Dave Martin on Twitter on X for his stuff.
Is that every win? He puts
yeah,
one out?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I might need to follow him on Spotify because there was one, the first one that I listened to, I listened to it like 10 times after we won. I played it, and on Spotify, if you just click on like a single song, it'll just keep playing that song if it's not in an album or a playlist. And I just clicked it, and it played, and I walked away, and it was just playing over and over again. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to change the channel. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. Love songs like that. Just get you through. For me, those songs get me through workouts, right? You can just go. Yeah. Hit repeat and go 3 minutes at a time, and all of a sudden you're done with the treadmill.
That's right. Well, AD, great week. Thank you for everybody for joining us on the show. We're going long here a little bit because we've had a lot to get to the last couple days, but we'll be back Monday with our Monday morning power play, and we will see everybody tonight against the St. Louis Blues, and then Sunday earlier game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So 2 great opportunities for the Mammoth to continue their success at home. We'll try and make it 3 in a row at the Delta Center. Come by and say hi, and drive safe getting to and from the game. We'll see you next time, everybody.